Good morning, everybody, and I'm pleased to be here to speak in the session. We're going to talk about the Virtualized Broadband project in ONF, the SDN-enabled broadband access, and about the reference design activities specifically, and there'll be some tie to some of the other topics today in there. So this is a review of at ONF Connect 2018, we were in the membership review for the RD, and this just is a recap of some things if you had not attended there about the principles of the reference design team. And the reference design team consists of partners in an operator group, in the operator group and supplier group, which is a subset of the partners in ONF, but the ones that were vested in helping with SEBA. So this is to the right is a reference diagram, and it is again, it's operator driven now. It's using components of CORD, and we'll talk about some of those components here. There was an initial deployment in 2018 off of an initial SEBA release, and we can talk in more detail about what that is and what's behind that. And it's an early release, but we did have actual customers running with it. So the idea, like in open source, common software, we also want a common infrastructure. So there's a hardware aspect of this as well, as far as some hardware and software vendors in the ecosystem, and where we can evolve and optimize as we move forward. One of the key aspects of CORD 6.0 in enabling a cloud-native broadband as well, not just virtualized, but one that runs on Kubernetes as an underlayer, that was enabled with CORD 6.0. Now there's a 6.1, and that's being integrated into another SEBA release. So one of the other collaborations here across a open community framework is in there is a Akraino Edge Stack project in Linux Foundation. There are many talks and other members of that ecosystem, and what it does is help to build the foundation of the, let's say, the bare metal over Kubernetes layer, installing Kubernetes, and then exposing that to whatever orchestration you have in the edge cloud orchestration area. And then there are many options there in the industry for that. And one of the aspect that is up on the top of the diagram is enabling any northbound carrier automation platform. So that could be a legacy EMS, NMS, OSS, but in terms of an open source aspect, that is one of the key references there is ONAP for enabling edge clouds through ONAP. So that's something that different carriers are doing, and some carriers can take other options as well. So one of the other aspects of SEBA it's related to that is not just on the management aspect, but in the network aspect. You can there is a way to integrate it to your brownfield networks. That's where we define some of the interfaces across the network side, and out to the right, the lower right, could be external routers that you already have in your network that you already use for access. And so that's a model that fits within some of the operators in the industry. And some of the evolution of that is related much to what Oz from ONF was discussing in a much broader scope with the convergence with mobile, but an aggregation and service gateway function that exists on the edge on the right-hand side in the ASG is where open solutions like the BNG and the P gateway, more from that's another, just a term on the wireless side for that. We're going to refer more out as we move forward to the kind of more extensive diagrams outside of this and where convergence occurs to, for example, what Oz just presented before the break. So this is just one thing to note here, a SEBA reference design is not is a structure under which different implementations or exemplars can happen. So it's actually a document. It's not the design, it's not the code. It refers to some of the designs and codes and what we call the workflows that the different operators have. And so we do refer to where someone can look for those things. But just so you know that this is a document that is now been released as SEBA 1.0 on the ONF site under the reference designs area, under specifically a tab called dashboard, and it shows the other RDs and where they're at in their life cycle in all the RDs in ONF. And so what I'm here to do today is just to create that awareness, and then also that we are working on reference design 2.0 in the reference design team. And we, in the reference design team, the operator group and supplier group, we've noted some of the priorities that we may have, some that we may be able to do partially or completely in a reference design document in for 2.0 this year in 2019. And we've set some goals for timeline for that. So this is really the kickoff of saying we'll quickly cover what those priorities look like, solicit inputs, and then we will work on the document within our teams, so there'll be authors for different areas of features and description. And we're targeting an ONF membership review so that it's a minimum 60-day cycle. So that starts to create a clock that would get us toward probably still having it under review at ONF Connect and have an opportunity to talk about some inputs there. But then when we finish the membership review, we have to address the comments, make updates, review with the submitters of the comments through the JIRA system for that document, and then proceed to the public release of 2.0, just like we just recently have a public release of 1.0. So the little stars are on the next slide as what we defined. So these are not in any particular priority order, but there's some grouping here. So these are capabilities that can be enabled with the RD, and some of them are with relationship to other RDs when we start talking about some of them here. So developing an analytics function in NEM so that we don't just necessarily send everything up to collector. If we want to do some analytics, maybe even simplify some things in a SEBA site, so that if that fits within an operational model for management, then we want to enable that. We also have a reference out to a Krina SEBA blueprint for network cloud. There's a talk tomorrow afternoon on that, and there's probably some talk today to discuss some of that. This is a link, so you can go to the Krina project for it. The other session here talks about the SDN controller ONS evolution, so we will track that and discuss what that means for SEBA. P4 runtime, of course, that needs to be 4. So that could be if the implementation that you want with your switches is P4 or versus OpenFlow based. We have many access technologies among operators, and there possibly could be more, but operators are involved in GFAS now. There's still some life in DSL and possibly some virtualization of that. And GPON2 and other PON variants are here. Also DOCSIS service, which is really something enabled by another RD with Trellis, and fixed wireless and Ethernet. And the BNG is in the current SEBA 1.0, but it's going to be expanded on what it is and what it means, how it can be implemented, and possibly some of the convergence with the previous topic. And related to that is merging the workloads with COMAC and OMEC, and this is not the place to find the pictures, so that the other presentations will do that. And third-party apps via multi-access edge cloud, and a virtual CPE, which was in the original cord, so we have an interest in that as well. And so we solicit additional priorities from while we're here. Any discussions are welcome, and there are different operators here in attendance in the supplier group, so there are others who can also talk about their needs. And this was meant to be really for the community of the RD team, and not oriented, to AT&T as an operator, so that we bring in all the feedback that's possible. So that's I'm open for questions, and given the amount of time you want for questions. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. All right.